Previously on Doctor Who Review. And we see Martha gives the doctor her phone, and I thought this was a good idea because Martha might need the doctor at some point in the future. Hello everyone, Douglas here and welcome to my Doctor Who review, and today I will be reviewing the Sontaran Stratagem and the Poison Sky. This story sees the return of the Sontarans after a 23-year absence, and the last time we saw them was in the Two Doctors. This story sees the return of Freema Agyeman as Martha Jones. This story also sees the Doctor working with UNIT for the first time in 19 years since Battlefield in 1989. This story is the second and last story to be written by Helen Raynor, who also wrote Daleks in Manhattan and Evolution of the Daleks. In part 1, called The Sontaran Stratagem, our cold open scene begins, and we are at Ratigan Academy, and we see Joe Nakisma is getting thrown out, and we see Luke Ratigan, played by Ryan Simpson. We find out Joe is a journalist, and we find out she knows something more about Atmos, which we saw in the Series 4 opening story, Partners in Crime. We see Joe leaves in the car with Atmos. We see Joe goes to UNIT. We see Ratigan is talking to someone, and we see someone is watching and listening. We find out from the voice the woman will be terminated. We find out she has been investigating a number of deaths with Atmos cars. We see Atmos instructs Joe to go right, and we see the river. And we see Atmos takes over the car, and it goes into the river and kills Joe. Inside the TARDIS, we see Donna, played by Catherine Tate, and she is operating the TARDIS console. And we see the 10th Doctor, played by David Tennant. We hear a cell phone ring, and you might know who might be calling, and it's Martha! And we find out Martha is bringing back the Doctor to Earth. Our opening scene begins, and we see Martha and the TARDIS lands. We see the Doctor and Martha reunite. We see Martha notices Donna, and a funny line from the Doctor when he says this: Martha, Donna, Donna, Martha, please don't fight. I can't bear fighting. We see Donna and Martha are talking. We find out Martha is engaged to Tom Milligan. We hear Martha's walkie goes off, and we find out Operation Blue Sky is a go. And we find out Martha works for UNIT. We see UNIT is raiding Atmos. We hear Martha say Greyhound to trap Ron, which was a reference to Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart and Sergeant Benton. A good line from Donna when she asks the Doctor this: Is that what you did to her? Turned her into a soldier? Pay attention to this line. This line is going to be important in the Series 4 finale. We see that aliens are watching, and we see that they have 3 fingers. I wonder who it is. We see Martha is taking the Doctor and Donna in their field base, and we are introduced to Colonel Mace, played by Rupert Holiday Evans. We see Donna finds out the Doctor still works for UNIT, and I love when the Doctor says, back in the 70s, or was it the 80s? And I love how they got the UNIT dating controversy in this story. We see the Doctor wants to know what is going on at the factory, and we find out from Colonel Mace that yesterday 52 people died in identical circumstances right across the world in 11 different time zones. 52 deaths at the exact same moment worldwide. We find out from Martha that they were poisoned and she did biopsies, no toxins. We find out from Martha, Atmos stands for Atmospheric Emission System. The Atmos in your car reduces CO2 emission to zero. A good line from Donna: Okay, so why would aliens be so keen on cleaning up our atmosphere? I like the Doctor's line when he says there are 800 million cars around the world. So you got 800 million weapons. We see two unit soldiers are down in the basement and they are looking at the floor plan. We see the lights turn on in the hallway and we see two Atmos workers and they are guarding something. We see the Atmos workers open the door and the unit soldiers enter. We see the lights come on in the room and there is something there. We hear a banging noise coming from the steel hatch. We see one of the unit soldiers is going to open the hatch, and we see one of them gets it opened. We see there is a tub of green slime. We see something comes out of the green slime, and we see one of the soldiers sees the umbilical cord on the back of its neck. We see it goes back in the green slime, and we find out someone is growing a body. We hear a voice, and we do see what the alien is, and it is a Sontaran. We see the Sontaran has a weapon, and it shoots the soldier in the leg. And we see the Sontaran orders the other unit soldier to fire, and it doesn't work. We find out from the Sontaran that the room is contained with a cordelline signal, executing the copper surface of the bullet and causing expansion within the barrel, rendering the guns useless. We see the other unit soldier runs at the Sontaran, and he does the same. We see the Atmos workers are coming in. We find out from the Sontaran that they are both needed for the stratagem. We see the unit soldier asks who he is, and we find out the Sontaran is General Stahl. And we see him takes off the helmet, but we don't see the whole head yet. We see the doctor tells Colonel Mace to stand back, and we find out the doctor doesn't like people with guns. We see the doctor and Martha are talking, and we see Donna comes in, and we find out Donna went through the binder, and we find out from Donna there is no sick days in the binder, and that is odd. We see Colonel Mace orders Martha to set up a medical post. We see the doctor is learning about Ratigan. We see Donna asks Martha if she should warn her mom about the Atmos, and Martha tells her, better safe than sorry. We see the unit soldiers are possessed, and we see General Stahl orders them to do their duty. We see the doctor wants to talk to Ratigan. We are introduced to Jenkins, played by Kristen Cook, and remember this third doctor line? Jenkins, chop of the wings, 5 rounds rapid. We find out from Donna that she is not coming with the doctor, and you might think this is her last adventure, and we find out she is visiting her family, so it's not her last adventure. I'll admit, when I first watched this on broadcast, I really thought she was leaving, but they really milked this out so well. We see the doctor and Donna get in a jeep with Jenkins. We see Martha is examining Trippa, and we hear his heartbeat, and it is fast, and he is under hypnosis. Okay, I'm going to be asking you this interesting question. For any hypnotists out there, when you're under hypnosis, does your heartbeat really go fast if you're under hypnosis? Because I'm quite curious, and leave it down in the comments because I want to know if that really happens when you are under hypnosis. Anyway, let's get back to the review. We see Martha leave for a bit, and we see the unit soldiers, and we see one of them asks if she has security clearance level 1. We see the doctor drops off Donna, and she walks home. We see Donna is getting a flashback on her adventures with the doctor. We see Wilf, played by Bernard Cribbins. We see Donna wants to Wilf and they hug each other. We see the unit soldiers are taking Martha to the room, and Martha sees the chamber and she tries to run, but the unit soldiers get her. We see Donna and Wilf are catching up. We see Sylvia, played by Jacqueline Keene. We find out from Jenkins that Unit has been watching the Ratigan Academy for ages. We find out there is Atmos in the Jeeps. We see the Doctor and Jenkins arrive at Ratigan Academy. We see the Doctor meets Ratigan. We see the Doctor is exploring the Academy. A good line from the Doctor when he says this to Ratigan. You look at the world. And you connect things, random things, and think, why can't anyone else see it? The rest of the world is so slow. Yeah. We see the doctor walks around into a round chamber, and we find out it is a teleport pod. We see the doctor is on board the Sontaran ship. We see the doctor teleport back, and we see General Stahl. We see the doctor is mocking General Stahl, and we see the doctor tells him to show himself. And a good scene I like when we see the whole Sontaran head, and that was so cool. I love how the doctor remembers the weakness of the Sontaran, the pubic vent on the back. We see the doctor has a tennis racket and a ball, and he hits the ball, and he hits the vent. We see the doctor and Jenkins are running back to the jeep. We see Ratigan goes with Stahl back to the ship. We are on the Sontaran ship, and we see Commander Score, played by Dan Starkey. And this is his Doctor Who debut. We see Commander Score goes to the Atmos factory. We see Martha meets Commander Score. We see Commander Score activates the metal tub. We see a hand coming out of the green slime, and we find out from Commander Score that would be a clone of Martha. We see General Stahl and Ratigan are talking, and we see Ratigan tells General Stahl about the doctor, and General Stahl remembers the doctor. We find out that the Sontarans weren't allowed to be a part of the Time War. I wonder why. One of the greatest shots when we see the Sontaran mothership and we see its scout ships. We see Martha's clone comes out of the green slime. We see General Stahl is tracking the doctor's jeep and they are going to kill him. We find out from Jenkins it is driving by itself. We see the doctor tells Atmos to drive in the river, which it is doing. And we see the jeep stops and we see it malfunctions and it explodes. And a funny line from the doctor when he says, "Is that it?" We see the Sontarans think the doctor is dead. A funny line from the doctor when he tells Donna this: "You would not believe the day I'm having." We see the doctor is looking at Donna's car. We do see Wilf sees the doctor and he remembers him. We see Donna is calling Martha, and we see the doctor tells Martha, "Code Red Sontaran." We see Colonel Mace ask Martha if they found anything, and she tells him nothing. We see the doctor is looking at the engine, and we see the Atmos system, and it has spikes. We see Sylvia is reunited with the doctor. We see the Atmos system is smoking, and on the Sontaran ship, we hear the alarm. They find out the doctor is alive. We see the Sontarans are marching. We find out from the doctor that wasn't just exhaust fumes, it was some sort of gas, artificial gas. We see General Stahl orders to activate the converters, and we see Wilf gets in his car, and the car door closes it by itself, and it has started. We see every car with Atmos has begun smoking up. We find out from Donna there is gas in the car, and Wilf is going to choke. We see the doctor is trying to get him out, but he can't, and he notices every car is smoking, and we find out it's the whole world. We hear General Star chants, "Sunta Ha!" And this is the first time we get to hear their battle cry, and that is the end of part 1. In part 2, called The Poison Sky, we see the doctor is trying to deactivate the Atmos device, and we see Sylvia closes the hood, and she smashes the window with an axe, and she saves Wilf. We see the unit troops are doing the same thing. We see Colonel Mace is talking to Captain Price, played by Bridget Hudson, and we find out from Captain Price it's the whole planet. We see Martha comes into command center and she downloads the NATO defense system. We see Jenkins finds a taxi with no Atmos device. A scene I like is when the doctor asks Donna if she is coming, and her mom doesn't want to, and Wilf tells Donna to go and don't listen to her mom. And we see Wilf is a great grandpa. We see Martha got the data, and she has a computer chip. and she sends the information to the Sontarans. We see Commander Score is going to prepare an attack squad. We see the news about the Atmos devices, and we find out the government has declared a state of emergency. We see the Doctor and Donna are back at the Atmos factory, and Martha overhears it on the walkie. We see Martha tells Colonel Mace code red Sontaran. We find out from Donna the air is getting bad for her, and the Doctor tells her to go back to the TARDIS, and we see the Doctor gives Donna the TARDIS key. We see Donna is back in the TARDIS. We see the Doctor is back in the command center. We see the Doctor tells Colonel Mace, do not engage the Sontarans in battle. We see Martha does something on her phone, and the unit soldiers are active, and we see them at the TARDIS, and they put multiple devices on the TARDIS, and they are teleport devices, and they teleport the TARDIS to the Sontaran mothership. We see Vatican is going back to his academy. We see Donna sees that she is on the Sontaran mothership. We see the Doctor finds out the TARDIS is gone. There is another scene I like when the Doctor looks at Martha, and I think he knows something is up with Martha. Another great shot is when we are at Vatican Academy, and we see the shot of London, and it is covered in smoke. We see Vatican tells his students to turn away. We see Unit has located the Sontaran ship, and Unit is prepared to strike. And we see the Doctor is going to talk to the Sontarans. We see the TARDIS picks up the Doctor's signal, and we see a glimpse of Rose. And we see the Doctor. We see the Doctor and General Stahl are talking. We see the Doctor mentions the war between the Sontarans and Rutans, which is a reference to the Time Warrior and Horror of Fane Rock. We see the Sontarans are doing their battle chant, and a funny line from the Doctor when he says, "Give me a break." And he switches to a cartoon, and he is back talking to the Sontarans. We see General Stahl shows the Doctor the TARDIS. We see the Doctor is giving her clues, and she is trying to call him, but doesn't know the number. We see the Sontarans are moving the TARDIS out of the war room. We see Vatican is giving a speech to his students, and we find out he is taking them to a new world. We see one of his students had enough, and Vatican has a breakdown and pulls out a gun. We see one of his students tells him to shoot him, and she walks out, and all of them do. We see Donna is calling her mom and grandpa. We see Wilf is talking to Donna, and he asks if the Doctor is there with her, and she tells him he is not. We see Martha ask the Doctor if he has seen anything like it, and we find out from the Doctor that this must be something that the Sontarans invented. This isn't just poison. They need the gas for something else. We see Captain Price is getting the nuclear missiles ready. We see Commander Score is at the Atmos factory. We see Martha's phone has a yes and no button for launching the missiles, and she clicks no, and the screen goes off. We find out from Captain Price the launch codes have been wiped. We see the Sontarans are marching, and they are on their way to war. We see Jenkins are with the other unit troops, and Jenkins hears something, and it's the Sontarans. We see the Doctor tells Colonel Mace to get them out of there, and he knows what will happen. We see Colonel Mace orders open fire. We see the Sontarans shoot the unit troops, and Jenkins is still alive. We see Jenkins remembers the Cordeline signal, and we see Score shoots Jenkins dead. We see the Doctor says this to Colonel Mace, "Now listen to me, and get them out of there." And we see Colonel Mace orders retreat. We see the unit troops are running, and the Sontarans are shooting them. We see the two unit soldiers, and we see one Sontaran shoots them. We see the factory doors are closing. We find out from Colonel Mace they've taken the factory. I love the Doctor's line when he says, "At time like this, I could do with the Brigadier." We find out from Colonel Mace that the Brigadier is stranded in Peru. We see the launch grid is back online, and Martha clicks no. We find out from Captain Price that this is coming inside of Unit. We see Ratigan is back on the ship. We see Ratigan tells General Stahl that he has failed. We find out from General Stahl that they would have shut down one of his students. We find out General Stahl played Ratigan, and there was no new world. We see General Stahl orders the Sontarans to shoot Ratigan, and he escapes. We see the Doctor is calling Donna, and we find out the Doctor has a secret weapon, and it's Donna. We see Donna walks to the door, and there is a Sontaran on guard, and she tells the Doctor, and the Doctor tells Donna there is a public vent on the back. And we see Donna walks to the spanner, and we see her hit the Sontaran. We see Colonel Mace orders everyone outside. We see everyone outside, and we see everyone is wearing a gas mask. And a funny line from the Doctor when he says, "Are you my mommy?" We find out from Colonel Mace that these bullets have a rat steel coating, no copper surface, and they would be easy to fire at the Sontarans. We see Colonel Mace tells Hawk Major a go, and we find out Hawk Major is the Valiant, and that is a great scene. We see Colonel Mace orders the Valiant to fire at will, and we see the Valiant fires its weapons at the Atmos factory. We see the unit troops are firing at the Sontarans. We see the Doctor is heading towards the clone chamber, where the Wheel Martha is at. We see the Doctor seize the Wheel Martha, and we see Clone Martha pulls out a gun. We see the Doctor remove the headset out of the Wheel Martha, and she is awake, and we see Clone Martha falls to the ground. We see the Doctor tells Donna all the blue switches inside flick them up, like a fuse box, and that could get the teleport working. We see the Wheel Martha sees the Clone Martha. We see Colonel Mace sees Commander Score, and we see him shoot Commander Score dead. We see the Doctor is working on the teleport. We see the Wheel Martha is talking to the Clone Martha. We see the Doctor tells the Wheel Martha to ask the Clone Martha about the gas. And we find out from Clone Martha that Cecil-Fine concentrate it's 1 part Ghostin, 2 parts Public 5. And we find out from the Doctor that gas is clone feed because the Sontarans are clones. And they are changing the Earth into a clone world, so it's their food. We see Clone Martha dies. We see Donna got the blue switches up, and the Sontarans see her, and the Doctor saves her, and we see him get the TARDIS off the ship. I love the Doctor's line when he says, "Here we go, the old team back together." Well, the new team. And that is a preview of something. We see the Doctor teleports to Ratigan Academy. We find out from General Stahl to increase the Atmos devices to maximum. One of the great shots when we see the Earth look so different. We see smoke is getting inside Sylvia's house. We see the Doctor constructs an atmospheric converter. We see General Stahl orders to launch the clone pods. We see the Doctor and his team outside, and he got the converter outside, and we see him press the button, and the flare goes up, and we see the sky burn. One of the greatest shots when we see the planet covered in fire. We see the sky is back to normal. We find out from the Doctor they are in trouble. We find out from General Stahl they are going to wipe out every human on Earth. We see the Doctor is saying goodbye to Donna and Martha, and we see the Doctor tells Ratigan to do something clever with his life. We see Martha ask if he can delay it, and we find out from the Doctor he has to give him a choice. We see the Doctor teleports to the ship. We see the Doctor tells General Stahl that he could leave. We see the Doctor and General Stahl are having a showdown. We see the Sontaran ship has its weapons ready. We see Ratigan is doing rewiring, and we see Ratigan teleports to the Sontaran ship, and he is in the Doctor's place. And his last words are, "Suntar ha!" And we see the ship explode. We see the Doctor is back at Ratigan Academy, We see Donna is back at her house, and we see her with Wilf. A good line from Wilf when he says, "And you go with him, that wonderful doctor. You go and see the stars." We see Donna says goodbye to Wilf. We see Donna is back in the TARDIS with the Doctor and Martha. And we see Martha ask how her family is, and she replies saying, "Same old stuff." We see Donna asks if Martha is coming, but she is staying on Earth. We see the TARDIS door closes, and the TARDIS takes off, and that is the end. I will say, this is a classic and an underrated story. It was good to see the Sontarans again. I will say this story did feel like a proper unit story because in the last 3 seasons, we never see the Doctor work with unit, but this time we do. I do love the direction by Douglas Mackinnon, and he had great shots. I will give the Sontaran Stratagem and the Poison Sky a 10 out of 10. So that is my review of the Sontaran Stratagem and the Poison Sky. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel, and I will see you next time for my review of The Doctor's Daughter.